Hi, everyone. My name's Glennon. I'll be one of the hosts today, and we're really excited to have you join us today. Today was a big day for the California STEAM Symposium. You may have received or seen an email announcement this morning that we are taking our event virtual, which has implications for presenting, and we're really excited to put together a very exciting virtual event that will benefit our community. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to our co-host, Karen Warner.
Thank you, Glennon. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to spend this next 30 minutes with you, giving you some tips and recommendations on submitting a proposal. I'll go live into the site and help show you how to navigate the system, and then we're going to have plenty of time for questions and answers. As well. As I'm going through the slides, if you have a question, if you put it into the chat, and then when I'm done with the short presentation, then we'll be able to open it up to hear your questions live. So let me go ahead and get us started on tips, recommendations, a tour, and we'll go through some frequently asked questions as well. So one of the things is to keep in mind that there's three basic types of proposals at the symposium. Hands-on activities are always enjoyed by participants who like to try things before they go back to the classroom to actually demonstrate it to their students, whether it's virtually or in their live classroom. Interactive participation, where participants can really get immersed in an activity, and then facilitated collaborations where there are people coming together, problem solving, and you would be facilitating it as the presenter. So we survey our participants every year to find out what it is they're looking for, and some of the main things are they want something that's actionable, something that they can use right away in their own context. Things that would be links to deeper dives or resources that would give them a deeper dive. Maybe it's into the research that is really supporting your presentation, or websites that you know are really high quality that they should look at. The other thing they're really looking for is when they go back and they try the things that your great ideas or the things you're asking them to try, they want a way to connect so that they can let you know how it went, whether it's a follow-up or just to share and celebrate something that went well. We recommend, as we go through the process, I'll show you where you'll be putting in your title, and I really encourage you to spend some time thinking about using a catchy title. There'll be likely hundreds of presentations, and to help draw the participants to what you're talking about, something that is descriptive, but also that kind of has you stand out. So from last year, here are a few on the right-hand side that people seem to really enjoy. So just to give you a few examples. Also, there'll be two different places to put a description of your presentation in the submission page. And one is the more overall description that our reviewers will be looking at. So if you would include in this how you expect people to learn, what sorts of standards your presentation is going to address, that really helps our reviewers to get a sense and be able to visualize what you're thinking about the participant experience. You'll have another chance to put a really brief description. So here's a brief description that was based on that longer overview. And this is really what the participants will see in the app. So there'll be an app associated with the symposium offerings. And so just so you know, the only people who see the longer description are our reviewers. So this is where you can really, in a nutshell, let people know what to expect when they come to your presentation.
And while we're talking about our reviewers and the longer version of the description, each presentation is reviewed by at least 2 reviewers as part of the process. And the more direct you can, Karen showed an example of a paragraph form, but we also welcome bullet form if that's easier, but direct and to the point. She's highlighted the different things that she really liked that were pulled out of this presentation, and this is about the maximum length of a presentation description that you can put in. So it's about 2 paragraphs or 8 to 10 sentences. So we welcome bullets. We also welcome paragraph form, whichever works best, but the more direct and to the point and explaining how and what you'll be doing is really appreciated.
Thanks, Glenn, and you're right. And as reviewers are going through, every presentation does get reviewed twice, but that reviewer is reviewing multiple presentations. So we'll be kind and make sure that we get to the point with our descriptions. And just a quick tip, an image really is worth 1,000 words. People really don't like to be read to, so as much as you can, as you're making your presentation, think about an image that will really encapsulate what you're trying to say, because you'll be there to say it. So I promise as we go on this tour, it won't be the 3-hour tour that goes on and on. We're gonna make this quick, but just I wanna give you a sense of the things you will see, and then we'll come back for questions. So once you enter into the submission platform, there will be a welcome message here for you. And you can go ahead and just click here on Create a Submission. It's at the top of the page. I have already logged in before. Of course, I've been practicing to make sure this all works. So if you have never logged in to Cvent, then you will need to create an account, and you'll see that here. I do recommend that whichever email address you have, because you likely have more than one, use the one where you would like notifications about your presentation to be sent. This is for any notifications we have about the STEAM Symposium, they will go to this address. So I recommend you use your work one if that's what you plan, or a personal if that's what you would rather. So then we'll log in. And there's 2 main sections of when you have when you're submitting a proposal. So first, the landing page. This is where I will come and I can see I have lots of drafts because I've been practicing. And also I have presentations that have been submitted, and I know that they've been submitted because I have a confirmation number here and also a date when it was submitted. These up here have not been submitted. Just because they show up doesn't mean that a reviewer is going to look at it. Reviewers are only going to look at these that have a confirmation number. So when you get to this My Submissions page, if you've never submitted anything yet, then there won't be anything here listed below. This is only because I've done it multiple times. You will simply click Create a Submission.
And a quick note on the confirmation component of things, you will also receive an email with your confirmation number in addition to it being on your My Submissions page. But that confirmation number is what will trigger a reviewer to start looking at your presentation. So please make sure, we encourage multiple submissions to be submitted, but make sure you have a confirmation number either in Cvent or in your email for the presentation, as that will be the trigger for the reviewers to start looking at the presentation.
Thank you, Glennon. And I notice in the chat someone's wanting to access the slides again. Would you mind putting in that link for them? Thank you. So we are now in the first of 2 main parts. The first part of a submission is going to be, who are you? And then the second part will be, what is your presentation about? So we are now in step 1 of who are you? So we are going to click that, yes, I'm the primary presenter. If for some reason you are submitting for someone else, then you will need to let us know that. And if there's an issue, we need to be able to contact you about that submission. So for instance, if there's an admin or a principal and they're submitting it, then we would need to know that. And then we're going to fill in all the information anytime you see the star that is required. And this is just my sort of dummy site, so it's putting in some information. And any information that is here, it will allow us to be able to inform you about any symposium-related news. You do, once your presentation is accepted, you will be able to continue to update your biography, but we do ask for the submission portion here that you at least put your position title and organization. And you can always go back and modify that. And if you're having a co-presenter for your presentation, this is where you would click for that. You do not have to have a co-presenter, but a lot of times people, when they're first submitting, they intend to have a co-presenter, but they don't know who that person will be yet. And so that's okay. You can just submit, and you can always go back and add that later. If you do have a co-presenter, you do need to inform them always of the status of your submission, because they will not receive an email from us. It will simply go to the primary presenter, you. So I'm going to...
A quick comment on the co-presenters. In the virtual format, we're going to require, or strongly encourage, but likely require, that you have a co-presenter in case there's technical difficulties for one presenter or the other with internet access, or something happens. We want the show to be able to go on, and so we strongly encourage two people to present together. It allows you to moderate chats. It allows, if the internet goes down somewhere or something happens, it just allows the show to go on. Per se, and just wanted to share that. So go ahead and continue.
Oh, that's great. Well, then I will plan to have a co-presenter, but I just don't know who my co-presenter is yet. Likely it would be you, Glennon, because you're a good backup for me always. So I will go ahead and save that. And now I'm into that second part that I was telling you. This is going to be the part that is about your presentation. And so these are the criteria that our reviewers are looking for. If you would like to access more tips and recommendations, which I'm covering most of those here, but we do have a link here. If you get into this and you want a little more support, we do have that there. And then your submission details, you will choose a STEAM symposium thematic strand that most closely aligns with your presentation. So these are really the things that are the main themes of our symposium. And so I have a brief description here of the 4 different strands. If you would like to have more detail on that, because you're not sure, let's say you're trying to decide between one or another, you can click here and it will give you more details on that. But you do have to select one strand. So I'm going to be building a thriving STEAM team. And then this is where I was talking about your presentation. You want it to be really, really catchy. And this is my chocolate STEAM presentation. And I'm going to choose, these are the pathways. So when participants are looking at the app and trying to navigate and sort of create their own adventure for how they're going to navigate the different presentations at the symposium, these are like keywords or waypoints that help them be able to go to the things that are most closely aligned to what their goals are for why they're even coming to the symposium. So we ask you to select at least one, but you may select up to 3 of these. And that will be tagged in the app so that people can follow, sort of like follow the breadcrumbs to find you to get to your presentation and hear what you have to say. Your presentation format, there are hands-on, as we discussed, interactive, facilitated, and we also have quick talks for like a quick hands-on demonstration with a really targeted group. So you would choose which one is mostly aligned with your type of presentation. And then what your content standards are, and you can select all that apply. Or if it really isn't related to your presentation, we give you that option as well. And this is where you would have your detailed, and this is where you're going to, you know, have your, whatever your long, nice, you can put in bullets if you would like. And then you'll also have a chance to upload any files that you would like that are associated with your presentation. And you can also do Google Slides or any links that are related. If you don't have these now, you can always update those later. And then this is your brief description. So this would be much shorter, but it would give them an idea of, you know, what you are going to be presenting. So there's a few other fields here that you would need to give us a little more information about the takeaways and how it addresses equity and distance learning. And just a reminder that you will be notified in the fall of 2020. Oh, and I need to fill in all my fields here.
While you're doing that, Karen, I mean, what filling in all the fields does is just takes you to the review page, and then you'll be able to see the complete presentation and submit. So that's the very last step. You have a chance to do a complete review. It's pretty easy to read there, and then you click submit. Nate has raised a couple of questions that I'd like to start addressing. That's the end of your tour, correct? Is there anything you wanted to do before we get to questions?
No, let's go ahead.
Okay, so Nate asked, are you looking for presentations in quotes? Earlier it sounded like you really want interactive sessions, hands-on discussion, etc. So you want to take that?
Sure. So when we say presentations, that's just a very general term. So that can cover a lot of different ways that you might be presenting your experience or your research or classroom experiences, your lessons learned or your aha moments. So we're not looking for something necessarily that's Google Slides or that is a typical kind of presentation that way. So in your detailed description, you would just let us know what would be the presenter's experience. And if you have something that's different than others, then that's perfectly great. People are looking for different kinds of experiences.
Yeah, and he's also following up, wondering if you have good examples of hands-on/interactive sessions that translate well to the virtual conference format. So Karen and I have actually been doing a fair amount of this via our Lunch Bites series. And in addition to that, I want to share with everyone that as part of being a presenter, there will be presenter training in the fall once presentations are selected. So we will, again, be providing training to everyone in the fall and can get into more specific details. But I would say as a quick example of some things that translate well to the virtual format is having a supplies list that's full of stuff that's readily accessible in anyone's home, having a guide, having built-in time in the session for people to actually build, and also demoing your build while things are going on if you're doing a hands-on building. But there's also, we haven't selected our event platform just yet, but there's opportunities to have breakout rooms for small group discussion. There's opportunities to have one-on-one discussions, and so you can do that as well to make it interactive. It doesn't have to be physically building something, but we want to avoid the idea of someone presenting and reading the slides to our group of participants. The next question, what type of registration discounts are available to primary presenter and co-presenter? So the best price you can possibly get is our current opening price of $85 per participant. There are not discounts this year for primary presenters or co-presenters because we've driven down the price. It's currently a quarter of what it normally would cost to participate in the symposium. And so if you are interested in getting registered now before we have a limited number of spots available at that price, and so would encourage you to proceed and register at that price to get the best price. Going to pause there. If there are any other questions, and please type them into the chat, or if you want to click the yes button on the participants menu, I might be able to unmute you. We're here and available for questions, but that's kind of the conclusion.
I wanted to just circle back, Glennon, the person who was asking about, ideas on how to make something in a virtual world more hands-on. And so I think that one of the things that we're looking at and that we have done with Lunch Bites is people enjoy the ability to be able to respond to polls and in the chat. And then we have used a Google slide deck for a virtual gallery walk. We had people go outside for a few minutes, come back, and then they had to respond to what they observed. This was a more nature observation kind of session. So when we are giving the professional learning for all presenters who are accepted, we'll go into more detail on some ways and brainstorm with you on how to really bring your session to life.
Great. Daniel's asked, do presenters receive a stipend or the like? Not currently, unfortunately. And then Janelle has asked, when do you need co-presenter information? We would need co-presenter information to be provided at the time that you are announced as selected at the very latest. It's not a requirement for submitting your presentation at all. But once we announce whether your presentation has been selected, we would then need their information. And again, as a primary presenter, it's your responsibility to communicate with the co-presenters, but we would need both the co-presenter and the primary presenter to register to confirm your participation in the event. So once you're selected, you get to register to confirm your participation, and we need both parties to register to confirm participation. That's how you get on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? We're going to hang out for as long as is needed, but if you have a question and want to click on the yes button on the participants menu or type it into the chat, we're here to be your support. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us and really hope that you submit proposals. Multiple are encouraged, and thanks again. So we'll hang out for the next few minutes and let you type in any questions, but that's the conclusion of this session. Nancy, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at Lunch Bites too.
Yes.
You're very welcome, Daniel. Thanks for your time. And thank you to all of you for joining us.
Yeah, really great. Glad to see you all.
Question from Joanne. Will participants be able to download what you would normally be given during my presentation, during the presentation? So you're referring, Joanne, I assume, and let me know if I'm wrong, but I assume you're referring to handouts and things that you would normally distribute in a live session or in an in-person session. What we're going to encourage is that everyone use Google Slides, and that if you have handouts or the like, that you link to all of those in a single Google slide deck so that participants can have access to one link from your presentation that has all the resources and everything that you would need, and then they would be able to download whatever it is that you want them to access at a given point in time.
Thank you, Jerry.
Joanne, let me know if I didn't answer your question directly. I'm happy to unmute you if you want to just ask it again.
Unmute me.
Yep, you're unmuted.
Okay. I've never used Google Slide before, so I'm just hoping that that's something that is easily transferable from what I guess I have a learning curve.
Sure. Do you use PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, yes, so PowerPoint does convert into Google Slides. Google Slides is Google's version of Microsoft's PowerPoint.
Okay.
So it's pretty straightforward to convert them, and you can easily link handouts and the like, and we can certainly support you in that if you need.
So would that be like a Word document or a say, for example, a picture of something that they.
Sure. Yeah, so it could be we would encourage you to make PDFs or Google Docs or a Word doc, whichever,
Okay.
and you can link, just like you could link to a picture in an email or link to a PDF document in an email, you can do that in the slide deck as well.
Okay, because if they want to have a takeaway that they can use right away, then they're going to need that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All
That's
right.
Thank
you.
No problem. And for reference, if you go to steamcalifornia.org and click on the Lunch Bites tabs, there's a bunch of Google slide decks there with a bunch of links and references and things of that nature in them. So that could give you a sense of what it looks like.
Super. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we wrap the call? Okay, Jediah, give me 1 second and I'll unmute you. Hi. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I know in some STEAM symposiums, there's been like a student showcase or things like that. And I was wondering if how that's a part of the plans for submissions too, or what you guys have come up with so far.
Sure, happy to address that. We are going to do another student showcase, and we start planning the student showcase and do a call for proposals for the student showcase in the fall when people return back to school or back to their virtual learning environment. But when school's back in session, we'll do a call for student showcase participation. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like in our virtual platform, but we will absolutely do that again. We've also had in the past some students submit regular presentation proposals to present a breakout session. So if there are, these were typically high school students that submitted. Last year we had some folks submit, they led our opening remarks with their drone flying, and they had a rocketry program, and they submitted some proposals to present alongside, I think, their superintendent, but we also had some other students that were the lead presenters of their own sessions. So if you know some that want to present, we'd love to have them. We encourage more and more student participation and have them submit a proposal.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Glennon, it was really interesting because some of the students whose presentations were accepted, we had no idea that they were students. They just submitted as any adult would, and so very strong presentation proposals. And we were thrilled to find out who they were on the back end later on. And so we would love to have more student participation than ever before. And this is possible now, I think, by going virtual. We won't have to worry about pulling them out of classrooms and can we get a bus and chaperones and all that. So we're hoping to open it up even to a wider audience of students.
Joanne, you have another question?
Yes, it's regarding the co-presenter. Is this someone who stands by at the ready, or someone who we're back and forth? Or is it?
That's up to you and the co-presenter. Karen and I are an example today of co-presenting and going back and forth, but if it's really up to you and the co-presenter. There's no specific expectation around how the two of you work together. What we've experienced is that having one person that's presenting and another person maybe moderating the chat as questions come in and jumping in to support that is really helpful. But whoever your co-presenter is should be ready to facilitate in the event that we have an internet outage at one of the presenters' locations.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Okay, it's officially 12:30. We're happy to answer. If there are any more questions, please let me know in the chat or click the yes button in your participant view. Otherwise, we'll stay on for another minute or two. And other than that, we're going to conclude. So feel free to exit and we'll end here momentarily.
And I just put up, Glennon, my, they can contact me if they have questions later at karen@cdefoundation.org.
Perfect. Well, I don't see any additional questions coming in. Thank you all for sticking around for the Q&A, and we look forward to reviewing your presentations, and we hope that you have a great day.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.